To the top 10. Today is the anniversary of the president's first major legislative victory, the stimulus. It was supposed to create or save 3.5 million jobs. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry tonight on what really happened.
President Obama celebrated the 5th anniversary of the American Recovery Act quietly, playing golf for the 3rd straight day in sunny Rancho Mirage, California, leaving his staff back in snowy Washington to play some defense over his economic record amid a barrage of attacks from the right.
Maybe the most expensive policy mistake ever made in Washington. I call it tooth fairy economics, right? That the money just comes down from the tooth fairy. But of course you have to pay those bills.
Senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer fired back by tweeting, quote, "Just say no wasn't an agenda 5 years ago and isn't today." GOP attacks on the Recovery Act are a perfect example of the delusional messaging that makes them appear out of touch.
The most sweeping economic recovery package in our history.
The stimulus was the president's first major domestic achievement, and like health care, which came later, it's still generating controversy years after he signed it into law in Denver.
It will create or save 3.5 million jobs over the next 2 years, including 60,000 plus here in Colorado.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said today those lofty projections have fallen well short, declaring, quote, "It is now clear that bold White House predictions about stimulus jobs saved and created were just a prelude to later pledges about keeping your doctors and falling premiums." The White House pushed back with a new report from economic aide Jason Furman using a creative term, job years, to claim the law has been a success, declaring, quote, "The Recovery Act by itself saved or created about 6 million job years," where a job year is defined as one full-time job for 1 year. This translates to an average of 1.6 million jobs a year for 4 years through the end of 2012. Vice President Biden, who oversaw the spending of the stimulus money, recently made the case it worked.
Here's what we did. That act 5 years ago, we invested $48 billion in infrastructure.
Except many Americans still do not feel the impact, with a recent Fox News poll about the economy showing 58% believe the worst is yet to come. 37% think the worst is over.
This was the worst bang for the buck ever. For the president to say, for once I agree with him when he said, yeah, I guess we weren't shovel ready, which is true, because we lost so much money.
Now, a string of Republicans noted today that the nation is now $17 trillion in debt, and there are 20 million people who are either unemployed or underemployed. The president will have an economic event tomorrow where he'll continue to make the case that since 2010, he's created 8.5 million jobs. Brett?
Ed Henry live on the North Lawn. Ed, thank you.